Okay, so my name is Toon Borré. I work for Tree Finance in a bit of a specialty stack called Dataforce. We actually work with data in the broadest sense, and we advise a lot of our customers on data. But today I wanted, during the Data Innovation Summit, we started having some conversations on Twitter, and we said, how crazy is this? Nobody ever took the time to discuss ethics. I've been now playing with data almost 20 years. And I'll give some examples of different situations I've had throughout the years. But what I wanted to do in my presentation is show you how I think we should address the problem of ethics. Because although I was flabbergasted by seeing that somebody stated, why the heck are we spending any time on ethics?
Who was that, by the way?
If he's here, we need to talk. You might not be in the right profession. But I think it's very important, and I'll give you some examples during the presentation. I will try to adhere to my 12 minutes, but my colleagues know that it's very hard. And I actually believe that if we look at the protection of ethics in what we do every day, it is about three things. It's about us, the people that develop the algorithms, that have the brains to develop those complex elements that are used on a daily basis. But it's also up to the organizations that ask us the questions. And last but not least, and there I will touch GDPR, it's also up to the governments to make sure that what we are doing, there is a legislation to follow. Because otherwise, what has been said before in different presentations, there will always be some cowboys playing around because there are no limitations. I call it one ring to bind them all, because hey, it has to be fun as well, right? We're all here after 8 o'clock, so let's add some fun to it as well. Now, step one. We as data scientists have great power. And for those who have ever seen Spider-Man, remember what Uncle Ben said? Great power. Exactly. We have to realize that. Now, not only Uncle Ben said that, and thank you for that, at least one nerd like me, but also Churchill said it. And back in the days, it came from Voltaire. But it is crucial to realize that we need to control the things we are doing. Are we aware of the results, or are we just pleasing the people that are asking our questions? I'll give you an example. Years ago, and it's roughly 8 years ago, I was asked by a hospital in this country to decide if I wanted to build an algorithm that could tell them how much it would cost them to let a patient die on the operation table. And give some advice to the doctors to say, when do you step back and say, and I'll say it like they said it, it's cheaper to stop. I walked away that day. Because ethically, myself as a person, I could not respond to that question. Scary enough, somebody else did. But we as data scientists need to take up that fight and say, it is not possible. I already heard before, we need to have some charter. I think we need a code of conduct. And I personally do not believe that it will not work. We just need some crazy people that say, we will adhere to it, and we will stamp people saying they're approved. What they're doing, they're following the code of ethics. Keep in mind, what are they doing? How are they looking at it? Do they keep in mind race? Do they keep in mind ethnic culture? Is it male or female? Do they use it in their algorithm or not? Keep in mind, however, a lot of people we talk to don't understand us. I don't know, have you ever had a situation where you had somebody on the other side of the table looking at you like, yeah, I just want the numbers, right? Do I sell or do I buy? Anybody ever had the question? I think 6 months ago I had a private investor come to me and said, yeah, can't you develop a program that can decide if you need to invest in a startup and if it will make enough money in 6 months or not? My answer to him, if I could, I already did, and I wouldn't be here, period. But even those things, we need to think about that. And for me, one of the steps we will need to take as a community is say, well, if you want to be part of this community, and you say, in my honest opinion, I don't think it's interesting and it's a waste of my time, then I'm sorry, maybe you don't belong in this community. I know that might sound rash, but I think as data scientists and people who say we believe in ethics, we need to take that step. Now, the second part of responsibility is organizations. I think roughly 2 months ago, an insurance company in the Netherlands asked me, Toon, we are thinking about something and we're all about controlling risk. I know there's a presentation on risk later on, right? On assurance later on. Well, what they said is, we've been thinking and we believe that we need to look at some variables that we are not taking into account right now for fire insurances or health insurances. And I said, what do you mean? Well, can't we use the distance between the fire department and the house to impact the insurance fee? The same for the ambulance. Because let's face it, if it's further away, then maybe either the person dies, so that's a positive thing because the risk is limited. It's a crazy thing, but apparently it is. But if he comes in a certain window, then the person might be disabled. Yeah, that's a high risk. And we as insurance, we don't want high risk. We don't like it. Last year, I don't know if anybody attended the conference of insurances companies in Belgium, in Louvain-la-Neuve. The big thing was, so this risk thing. We all want the perfect customer, right? Who takes the rest? Nobody answered. There is a real social dilemma there. What are you going to do with the people that do not fit into your perfect window? Do not fit into this little class that says, oh, there's no risk. Insuring somebody with a driver's license but no car and giving them an insurance for his car, that's the perfect insurance. I understand that. But this is not the world we live in. Yeah? Unfortunately enough, companies are struggling and looking more and more for ways to increase their profit. And they're looking to us. I dare to say to my customers, why? Why do you want to use that? Why do you think that is valuable for you? And consider that. They need to take their responsibility as well in this game. Because otherwise, it's never going to work. And last but not least, the government, our friends. Now, 3 things. 1, do any of you know of a government that's fast? You know? I don't. The problem with that is that our technology, the evolutions we are passing on right now, we are going way faster than the government can follow. Yes, I understand there will be legislation. Yeehaw. In 10 years. We're living now. When I get a question, I need to decide, even financially, is this viable? Do I want to do this? And what's the consequence for me as an individual? There's no legislation. There's no law like cars saying you have to obey to the speed limit. No. And I've looked at the laws as well. There's nowhere saying you cannot do this or this when it comes down to computer programming. There's nothing in there. Huh? Nothing really looking to ethics. They need to step up. Now, GDPR, I've been busy with GDPR the last year already, just like you. A couple of things. Keep in mind, we do say it is true. It's only valid for the European countries. But keep in mind, what you actually look at is European citizens, not countries. So, if you look at the fine, it's 4% of their global revenue. If Coca-Cola fucks up in Belgium, now we don't have a problem with our finances for the rest of the year for our government anymore. Yeah, that's 1. If you ever get the money, that's something else. Yeah, but 2, who checks? Because the biggest disappointment for me looking at the GDPR is that there is too much flexibility in the interpretation. The Belgian Privacy Commission will start doing the investigations. Great. Have you ever worked with a German company on privacy? It's a different story, yeah? Our Privacy Commission will probably be a little baby, without the scary parts, compared to the Germans. They will bring their tanks and say, hold on, they've got the GDPR for years already. They know about anonymization, having control on data. They've had that for years. They've been the strictest country in Europe. And now we think that the GDPR will solve it all? I don't believe it. It's a good kick in the ass. Because when you say 4% of your global revenue or 20 million, which is in fact is whichever one is the highest. So if it's more, hey, hi, we like it. It's still you see the fear in their eyes. But let's see, I really hope, and I think a lot of us do, that as soon as we pass the 25th of May 2018, they start kicking ass. They've already requested, we want more power, we want to be able to infiltrate, we want to be able to do checks. Great. Have they been replied on from the government? Not yet. They haven't received the resources yet to do it. When the 25th passes, I expect in the first week that they hit it. If they don't, it's a miss. And everybody will say, oh, well, you know, that's GDPR thing, yeah. It's a European thing, you know. Even the British understood it and ran away. However, keep in mind, they still choose to obey GDPR because they know in their hearts, and they're British and it's difficult to understand, but still they have hearts, even after they left, that in the end it's all about realizing that as a government, it's not about you. It is about your citizens. It is about the people who own the data. If you do not respect that, and this is the biggest fear of any person in politics, but also any person in business, they'll just walk away. Because there will always be a different party on the other side who says, we think privacy is important. And it will be a topic like security and safety is right now. I expect a new generation to push even more towards privacy and say, this is mine, back off. I see some issues with, for example, transporting data, being able to transfer the data. I don't know how many of you have seen the letter of death related to the GDPR, the letter that somebody could write asking, where most, even GDPR specialists say, oh my God, if I get that one, I just hope I'm not the DPO having to write that one back because I don't have a clue to answer it. You have your time limit, the time to answer, but it's a great hurdle to take that. And if you don't have it, I'll probably post it tomorrow because I just like to scare people with that letter. It is scary as hell and it's very difficult to look at. But for me, only these three together, working together, will bind them all. Now, looking at government, there is one thing we're missing. I would love to see some kind of patent office when it comes down to algorithms. Yes, I believe in black box testing. Yeah, great. But in the end, how many of you have ever read the GDPR? Now, to be honest, it's 200 and whatever pages. It's boring as hell. If you want to get to sleep, you won't get past page 2. But still, in there, it never says how you need to explain what is being done with your data. I can guarantee most of us can sit in front of an individual explaining perfectly what you're doing while it's ethically irresponsible, and the person on the other side will say, don't understand a thing, so probably it's okay. I do see some challenges there, and I believe that some kind of patent office might help. Because let's face it as well, and the examples have been given before as well, we need to keep in mind that when we build an algorithm, even further in the future, the results of our algorithm will be the start of the next one. We have seen the problems in the States. I don't know how many of you have read the book Weapons of Mass Destruction. It's an interesting book. The lady who wrote it actually has one big example saying, well, if you lose your job or you lose, well, then your credit score will go down, and funny enough, you won't get a job because that's something that's looked at, and then you start the circle, and you start the downward circle. Two things that are not linked together on their own, but you even have brokers selling that data. They are not ethical, They don't care. They're just trying to sell their products, which is data. We will all be in those positions soon. And that's, again, why I said we all love Lord of the Rings. In the end, it is about protecting ourselves. But we need to do it together. As individuals, we can't, but we can start by saying we want a code of conduct and we want to adhere to it. And we, as individuals, need to say what should be in it. Now, I said I'm a movie fan. Keep in mind, it is little things that make you go from Smeagol to Gollum. It doesn't happen overnight. Every decision you take as a data scientist, as a professional, will shape you. Nobody suddenly, wakes up like that, falling into the fire of Mordor with a little golden ring in their hand saying, "My precious," and dying with a big smile on his face. Nobody does that. But keep in mind, even he, and those who want to re-look the movies, keep in mind extended version, and there's a couple of them, 3 hours and 15 minutes each, so tomorrow doesn't exist then, it's just a movie day. This is what we are facing right now, and to be honest, if you ask me where are we right now, we are here. We either decide to stay here and try to move back, or we go further to the right. I just hope that we as a community have enough guts to say it's not going to happen. This is where it stops. Because legislation, again, it's not going to save you. They'll be too late. Yeah? A small little thing I want to say besides my coordinates. We are currently running a GDPR survey across Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Germany. It's still open. Most likely will be open until the end of the month. Anybody who wants to take part in it, feel free. We will share all the results, including the data, so you can make nice graphs of it. Huh? I would love to see some cool graphs on that. And I'll share it most likely as well with the organizers and the rest. But we're trying to evaluate how people are looking at it. And just to give you some results, we already saw that some people say, well, GDPR, plenty of time. Not true, but okay. Some say, yeah, we got this guy working on it. This answer came from a bank. I'm getting nervous, yeah? Yeah, but things like that, you just see. Who's responsible for your GDPR? Oh yeah, we still need to decide, yeah? It's less than a year, as you currently said. So it is crazy. We even noticed, and we thought, well, let's be bold in our questioning, and we asked, okay, is your company getting data from your employees, and is it processing it without asking them if they can? Scary enough, most of the people say yes to that question. We actually expected most of them saying, no, we ask for their approval, but most of them don't care. They'll just run it. Yeah. Well, if you want the companies you work with, your own company or yourself, just take it. It is 50 questions, takes 15 minutes. Yeah. But let's see. Any questions?
So big round of applause, please.
Yeah.
So do you think that there is adequate whistleblower protection under GDPR or any other thing on the horizon? I guess what I see really missing is employee rights, and the responsibility is obviously on all of us, Nuremberg and all that.
Yeah.
But
to be honest, I think that employee responsibility and the impact of that will be the first one that blows up after the 25th of May next year. Because I see bit by bit that people are starting to realize the impact of GDPR and their rights. Keep in mind what could happen if you leave your current employer and you move to the next one. You're entitled to say, give me all my data. You could even say, forget me. Do you realize what that means? Do they need to delete all the reviews they did of you? Officially, well, in certain circumstances, yes and no. It's a big thing, yeah? But HR, from my point of view, will be as important as customers. I don't care about suppliers, because they want to sell your stuff anyway, and as long as they get paid, everybody's happy. But employees and customers, those are the two areas. And honestly, looking in Belgium, keeping in mind we have certain social activities, I think employees will be the first one where everything explodes.